What is a values-driven company? What does corporate social responsibility mean in practical terms? How do you balance creating social good with the bottom line? Hello, this is Danielle L. Scott, Managing Editor for the Grassroots Business Report. Today is September 29th, 2009, and here with me is Rick Hesse, Professor of Decision Sciences, who will be interviewing Bill Sanderson and Chuck Browne of Golden State Foods, a worldwide supplier to the quick service restaurant industry.
Gentlemen, thank you for taking the time for being with us today. And
it's a pleasure.
Tell us about Golden State Foods, a little about its background, what kind of revenues, how far does it reach around the United States, etc.
Well, Rick, we're 60 plus years old now, founded as a little beef company in Vernon, California, where our founder Bill Moore met Ray Kroc in the early days of McDonald's and liked Ray's commitment and passion for quality, and Ray convinced him to become a dedicated supplier of hamburger patties to McDonald's again many years ago. We've grown with McDonald's through the go-go years of the 70s and 80s, and today we serve a plethora of quick service restaurant companies throughout the world. Our revenues are about $4 billion. We have 3,000 employees on 3 continents, and we serve our customers in 60 different countries.
How has GSF been impacted by the economy, this economic downturn that we're experiencing?
It's actually created opportunities for us. Most of our customers, McDonald's and others that are in that quick service restaurant space, as we call it, are doing fine in this environment, given that people are trading down from fine dining and casual restaurants to quick service because they present a great value proposition to the customer and it's much more affordable. So as our customers go, especially McDonald's, which is our very large customer, as they go, typically we go. However, we have seen some opportunities by competitors stumbling in this environment in our liquid products group and in our distribution group to actually gain market share. And so we're actually having a very good year this year.
That's great. I'm glad someone is. And how did GSF get into this whole idea of corporate social responsibility? I have a feeling it was not new for them. It's new for a lot of people to talk about, but not necessarily for GSF. So, Chuck?
Absolutely, you are correct. When we, a year ago, began to talk about the social responsibility aspect, and we polled our field, our grassroots, our managers, and our facilities, we found that there were 65 separate initiatives that they were undertaking, from recycling to idling programs, that we were pleased and surprised that it goes back to the founding of the company and giving the customer a fair deal and being responsible.
Can you think of a couple of examples that you found out that your divisions were doing?
I think our recycling program was one. Obviously, there's a lot of plastics involved in both shipping and
we're wrapping pallets, that kind of thing. I mean, we deliver or could deliver a lot of waste product to waste streams, and we do a lot of things with wastewater. We do a lot of things with plastic, corrugated, that kind of thing. And we're talking, not like recycling at home, but in industrial quantities. We've also developed some relationships in our plant in the southeast with companies that are buying our waste product from us, using it to power. Or actually using it to create power and create energy that we end up buying back from them at a discounted rate. So we're actually taking those products, instead of recycling them, composting them and then burning them and creating energy from them. So there's really some exciting things going on across the company. I think what surprised us is all this was being done at a grassroots level. And like Chuck says, it's really kind of who we are. We have this philosophy as a company that it's not only important to do well, but do good in the communities in which we live and work, and also give our customer a fair deal. So we find that a lot of these initiatives have multiple bottom lines. They make our associates feel good because they're doing the right thing. It helps the community, leaves it a better place than it was before we got there, and also it adds to the profitability of the company.
Sure. And you want to add to that at all? Anything more?
I think the piece of it that maybe needs to be added is with Starbucks, who's a customer of ours. We were finding that as we made our deliveries in the evenings, that there was a lot of food that was then going into the waste stream. And through one of our associates' interaction with the foundation and in back with Second Harvest Food Bank, we developed an initiative and a partnership with them that takes that food back to our distribution facility and then down to the food bank, where it is given out to the various pantries that help those less fortunate. So there in San Antonio, we have a great initiative that came from our associates that also has sustainable issues in terms of environment. So
that's very good. And Bill, you were describing to me about the whole cooking oil problem with McDonald's and how you kind of helped solve that and turned a negative into a positive.
Well, yeah, it really wasn't a problem. I mean, used cooking oil in McDonald's fries French fries and fish and chicken and those kinds of products, so they generate a lot of waste cooking oil. And that product typically would go into, it actually could be further processed and used in the makeup industry, believe it or not. It could be used to enrich chicken feed, which was the primary use of used cooking oil 5 or 6 years ago. What we saw as an opportunity was to take used cooking oil and turn it into biodiesel fuel, a biorenewable fuel that actually has the lowest carbon makeup of any petroleum. Well, it's not a petroleum product, but when you compare it to petroleum fuels. And 1 gallon of used cooking oil will yield 1 gallon of biodiesel fuel. So we can actually take the waste oil we pick up from McDonald's today and yesterday, turn it into biodiesel tomorrow, and power our delivery fleet with it to deliver case goods to the stores the very next day.
Tell me about some of that delivery and pickup, because in the old days, they used to take the old oil in a bucket and kind of splatter it across the floor and dump it out or whatever. And how's that delivery and recapture system done now?
That's a great question, because and I know when I worked in the quick service restaurant industry when I was in high school, that's the ugliest, dirtiest, most unsafe job in the restaurant, is handling the waste grease. It's very hot and very dangerous. It can spill on the floor and cause a slippery floor where it contributes to slips and falls and back injuries carrying large cases of cooking oil to the fryer. About 7 years ago, we saw a company come into the space that developed some proprietary technology where they hard plumb in the restaurant a system that pumps in fresh cooking oil and extracts waste cooking oil at the push of a button. So a completely hands-free system. Then they have a specialty delivery vehicle that comes to the store, dynamically routed, so it's vendor managed. When they're low on oil, it will come, pump in fresh oil, extract the waste oil, and take the waste oil back to a depot. We reached out to them, and actually at McDonald's suggestion, partnered with them in a way to help them move this initiative quicker across the country. Today we partner in 6 depots throughout the U.S. The company now has 36 depots to make up a whole total U.S. footprint. And they not only collect waste cooking oil from McDonald's, but from all the major quick service restaurant companies, and aggregate this oil at their depots throughout the U.S. So our Build On initiative, the sustainable initiative around that, is then to take that waste product and convert it to biodiesel fuels. We're right now making relationships with biodiesel processors throughout the country that can take that product, toll it for us, we'll buy it back, use it in our delivery fleet, and then sell it to other customers in that local market. So we're really excited about the initiative, and we have a lot further to go, but we've made some great strides.
I was also impressed about the delivery and pickup of the oil, that no longer do you have to interrupt operations. Speak a little about that.
That's right, Rick. The restaurants, when we install this infrastructure in the store that includes the fresh oil tank and waste oil tank, we connect a coupling system to the outside of the restaurant. The specialty delivery vehicle drives up outside the restaurant, connects a hose into the fresh oil coupling, another hose into the waste oil coupling, and simultaneously pumps in fresh oil and extracts waste oil. We can send a delivery receipt via email, wirelessly, and never bother the manager or not. They wouldn't even know we came. And their use of fresh oil is seamless, uninterrupted, right?
Chuck, tell me about GSF's foundation and how that works. And I know you're a large company. Do you have just one thing that you do?
We don't have just one thing that we do, but we have 18 facilities, and each of our facilities has its own individual, unique committee made up of our associates right there. We encourage them to be engaged at the local level with their charities. They know the needs of that community well, and so they are by far the best group to help design where their dollars go. And when you look at that across the whole company, it wasn't surprising that it began with the senior leadership team, which Bill was a member of, and Mark Wetterell as our chairman, that said we need, and Bill termed it earlier, about we need not only to do well as a company, but we need to also do good in our communities. So beyond the tax benefit, the taxes that we pay and Social Security, we have this huge group of 2,800 associates that go out into the community and give back. We just ran a great program in Santa Ana with our Irvine-based committee where we gave backpacks to first grade kids that start school without any school supplies, and a gal that had been on our kind of on the giving and on the fringe of the foundation went to that event and came back and said, you know, I always knew the foundation did good work, but I really didn't get it until I stood there and handed those backpacks out and watched those kids respond. So, you know, it is, when you think about social responsibility and giving back in its purest form, there are 2,800 associates, part of Golden State Foods, that not only work hard every day, but didn't give back in their communities. And it is just, I've told Bill and a number of people, I've got the greatest job at GSF. They make money, I get to give it away. But really it is our associates and how they come back and feel about what they do.
And you help coordinate all of that, but then also you sometimes learn from the grassroots some things and benefits that maybe translate to the whole.
Oh, absolutely. It's just, it was like we started with how we got into social responsibility and the number of grassroots things that we were seeing done. You know, they have brought forward a number of charities that were just local that we have taken and applied that same model in our other committees. One of the great ones is Shoes That Fit. Having lived in the U.S. all of my life, I never would have thought that we had kids that started school wearing dad's shoes with newspaper stuffed in the end, or wearing their sister's shoes, until we saw it firsthand. And the Shoes That Fit program kind of grew out of one associate's involvement and attachment to the organization. So yeah, we have several national initiatives now. We do the backpack thing in cooperation with United Stationers, who is kind of a model foundation, modeled after ours. But yeah, so there has been a lot of great grassroots things bubble up that we have been able to take and give a national face to. Exciting.
I'm struck by what both of you say of how many partnerships that you have with different businesses, with communities, and that you are, as C.S. Lewis once said, you're the good infection, that you bring healing and help, and then others help you, and that you have tremendous cooperation. And that must have been a big surprise as you look back and where you've come.
Let's do the mixing bowl thing.
Okay.
It was about 4 years ago, I guess, when our chairman and CEO came to me and said, Bill, I'd really like you to take on the responsibility as our foundation chair for the Irvine Committee, and Irvine is our corporate headquarters. There's only 40 of us there out of a company of, I say 3,000, Chuck says 2,800, but you get the idea, it's a lot of people. So we're very decentralized. And I asked Mark, I said, well, I'd be happy to do that. When the chairman and CEO ask you to do something, you typically respond that way. And And I said, but what are the expectations? And he says, well, of course we want to continue to work with Chuck and work with the local associates and do the kinds of things that we're doing, but we'd also like to put something together that's significant, where we can collaborate with others like-minded in the community, and create an event that celebrates not only our beliefs, but helps the community in a bigger way. And we do that through collaboration with other like-minded business folks. And so I went to Chuck and I said, Chuck, I think I'm going to need your help. And he says, what do you need? And I said, well, my thought is that we go meet with people in the community that I know that are very philanthropic, that have a heart for those less fortunate. People that I met on the board of Big Brothers Big Sisters over my tenure there, people we've met through foundation activities over the last couple of years, and get their ideas on thoughts on what we might do. And the analogy that Chuck and I created, that we were going out in the community with a big mixing bowl and we were going to bake a cake, and we didn't know what it was going to look like or taste like, but we wanted everybody's input. So we had a lot of people put a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and help us create something that ultimately is very tasty and probably very fattening too. But we created a community effort called Good News for Kids, and this year, in fact, November 19th will be our 4th annual gala. And we bring together 650, 700 people from the community. We rent a large venue called the Grove in Anaheim, and we bring in each year 4 partner charities that serve children and families in need. We celebrate the good work they do in the community. We help them raise significant resources that they wouldn't otherwise have. And we have a lot of fun. It's a very entertaining program. We've created a nice brand around Good News for Kids, where people just hear the name and they want to come back year after year. And the other thing we do that's rather unique is we celebrate someone in the community. We've tended to kind of move towards those in the entertainment industry to help us create a real fun evening. And someone whom you may or may not know, that makes their living by day one way, but their real passion is helping those less fortunate. And our first honoree was Erin Gruelle, the Freedom Riders, the Long Beach Wilson High School teacher.
Right.
And she did a phenomenal job. She has a wonderful story, and she's a great storyteller. The second year we had John Andrasik from Five for Fighting, who did a private concert and interweaved his passion for those less fortunate and told us in a way through song about his beliefs, and then ended with, what kind of world do you want now? And then last year we had Mark Schulman, who is considered the Rockers drummer. He's played with Def Leppard and Velvet Revolver, and now is Pink's drummer. And Mark, when he's not touring with Pink or doing Cher's show in Las Vegas, he's in inner city school classrooms. He's working with kids in the Department of Corrections. He's working in local Boys and Girls Club chapters, and he's taking kids who've made poor decisions early on in life and trying to get through to them using drumming as a metaphor to make better choices and really try to inspire them in the arts. Some of these kids are incredibly talented. So this year, a little self-promoting here, Becky Bailing, who's a Broadway star, is coming to help us, who's worked with the Phoenix House, which is a drug rehabilitation program, actually throughout the country, and they have a local chapter in Santa Ana, and we're excited about. But there's 21 people from the community that partner with us, sit on our steering committee, and help make this happen. And I have a friend that has this expression, I think his grandmother said, that a drip and a drip and a drip make a splash. And that's really kind of our philosophy, that if we're willing to take on a leadership role and bring together other like-minded people, we can really do amazing things. And this year, Good News for Kids will eclipse $1 million in fundraising, plus really do a lot of good work in terms of inspiring people to get out of their chair at home and go out in the community and lend a hand where they can and where it's needed. So.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. And it sounds like an ethos at GSF is to not only enjoy the work you do, but to do good work.
Absolutely.
And that's tremendous. Now, one of the problems when you have a for-profit company that then wants to do social good is that sometimes the profit starts driving things, and the part for foundations and charities begins to dry up or whatever. How do you guard against that? How do you keep a certain percent that you want to be able to work through your foundations that GSF gives? How do they work that?
I think, again, it's part of our ethos is we have this, we approach things from a belief of abundance as opposed to scarcity. And I think that kind of infiltrates throughout the company and everything we do. In order to sustain our company and continue to be able to do what we're doing, we need to maintain our profitability, and we're always looking for ways to increase it. But we find that there's actually solutions that bring these things together and achieve what ultimately is a multiple bottom line. And we do that through critical thinking, collaboration, and really challenging ourselves to do the best and come up with the best solution. So in my 7 years at Golden State Foods, I've never seen us really struggle with that. We have a very unique relationship with McDonald's, and of course, they're very concerned about quality. They're also concerned about the environment, and they want the lowest price. So, you know, that's the challenge they present us with, and they presented us with that for 60-plus years. But the reason we're as large as we are today and as successful as we are today is because I think we've managed to that expectation very, very well.
Chuck,
Yeah,
any comment?
I agree, because one of the things, the owners of Golden State Foods, because we are employee-owned, that comes right off the top. So when we talk about the foundation, it has never been discussed in 25 years of doing not-for-profit work. They've never approached it like this is something they have to do. It is something that I literally have to go in sometimes, and it is, Chuck, what do you need? We want to make sure this goes. It drives our employees. We feel like they are probably better associates because of their engagement with the foundation, and the owners see it as just part of what is their responsibility. It is a unique mix that has never been one of, is it a question whether we will or won't? And when you think about it coming right off the top, that's pretty significant for the 90-plus owners of the company.
Very much like good tithing habits.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
It comes off the top first, then you worry about everything else later. And that's interesting because both Pepperdine and GSF have Christian roots and a Christian ethos. And one of the things that we value here at Pepperdine is educational programs that develop value-centered leaders. It sounds like your system automatically engenders that among people, to think value first. And so what about, do you know anything about turnover and keeping employees? My guess is that you must be much higher than industry standards.
Well, from a turnover standpoint, much lower than industry standards.
Lower turnover.
We actually have we have a company creed, and we have stated values that appear on the walls in all of our facilities. They're on the back of all of our business cards, and I know a lot of companies have that.
Yes.
But what really intrigued me about Golden State Foods when I was there as a consultant, when I first started my career with the company, and sat in on a couple of meetings my first week, is how those creed and values came into the meetings that I sat in and became a filter to guide behaviors and do the right thing and give the customer a fair deal and treat others the way we wanted to be treated. So it's not just words on a business card or words on a wall. It's really a philosophy that we all live by, and it's foundational to what we do, the decisions we make, and who we are as a company.
Where do you see GSF headed in the next few years?
Well, we're a large company, and our customer McDonald's has began to slow growth, especially in the U.S. But we're continually challenged to come up with new ideas to help them be more successful, not by growing stores, but by growing top-line revenues and becoming more relevant, and putting more meaningful menu offerings on the menu, more nutrition, better value, those kinds of things. So, well, that's first and foremost. That's what we're concentrated on. We also have learned over our 60-year operating experience, there's a lot of things that we do very, very well disciplines that we've developed by working for a very demanding large customer and being successful with that over the years. So we began to diversify our customer base a lot more, and we see a lot of opportunities to do that as we've kind of come out of just the McDonald's umbrella and serving just one customer for so many years. We see that we're very good at some of the things that we do, and that has economic value to a lot of other customers in the marketplace. So we see lots of growth opportunities, particularly in our distribution group and in our sauces and dressings, we call it our liquids group, for continued growth. As far as our foundation goes, and I'll let Chuck address that, but we're only 6 years old, 7 years old?
7.
And I know Chuck feels the sky's the limit. I mean, we're just getting started. There's so much more we can do, and I'm really excited about it. But
Well, I think particularly, Bill, when you talk about business customers, you think about some of the people that you have sat down with on the business side and how the alignment just, and it's, I don't want to say magical, that's not the right word, I'm not sure what the right word is, but you suddenly realize that there is this value system that you hold dear, and I think about Chick-fil-A as an alignment point. We also have found that even with some of our suppliers, when we talk about the foundation and they see the engagement of our associates, they have asked us, is there a way that you can help us build that same model? So right now, I think we have three other companies that we have either done business with or are doing business with, that we are helping them build the same model we have in that whole giving back and engagement. And it's fun because then in communities like here, and when we did backpacks, I mean, that was not just Golden State Foods, that was
That's right.
our national partner, United Stationers, that helped us deliver 5,000 plus backpacks over
throughout the country.
in the last few weeks. So yeah, I think that there is a great opportunity for us to continue to grow that model with other companies, and that becomes kind of that pyramid all in and to itself that we can begin to work in collaborative efforts. So yeah, it's cool stuff.
That's great. That really is.
Some of the things, it's interesting. We just earned, in this kind of climate, very challenging climate for many, we just earned 40% of the distribution system for Chick-fil-A, which is arguably the most profitable and fastest growing chicken restaurant concept in the country. And they are a faith-based organization based
Truett
in the
Catholic,
Southeast with Truett. Southern Baptist, and just remarkable people with a real passion for foster children. In fact, they have their own chain of foster homes around the U.S. And when we were going through all of the business stuff and what it takes to really come to terms in a contractual sense with a company, and by the way, this relationship was building over about 3 or 4 years before we were finally rewarded the business. But what really resonated with both companies was this match in terms of heart and the care for those less fortunate, and belief that it's not only important to do well but do good. And I think that had a large part to do with us being the successful bidder. Not only did we give them confidence that certainly we can do the business and do it as well, if not better than anybody else, but the fact that we had this values match, and that tells us a lot about our character and the fact that we can trust each other, and it's a relationship that's built on trust and like-mindedness, as well as capabilities, is really neat.
And that's a heartening word in this day and age of corporate greed that we almost daily would open up the newspaper and read about, and companies robbing their employees and the public of their savings. And yet here is something that you found that's a core competency that you find translatable to partner with other corporations and strike that resonant chord. And that helps you stay true to your vision too.
Right.
Because now you've got someone to say, now we want to do this the right way. And as you say, then it's a matter of saying, then how do we do that? How do we work that? Because that's what guides us. And so it's very heartening to hear. Really is. But it's been a real pleasure to be able to share what your company is doing. And for those of you that don't know, GSF's corporate headquarters in Irvine are across from our Irvine campus.
That's right. That's true.
Where we have several floors there for the Irvine Center. So it's been a pleasure coming up to visit visit you there sometimes,
Yeah.
too. And we hope wish you continued success, and thank you very much for the time today.
Well, thanks, Rick. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
It's our pleasure.
This is Danielle Scott for the Grassroots Business Report. Find us online at gbr.pepperdine.edu, and you can find out more about Golden State Foods and its foundation at goldenstatefoods.com.